Things are about to get gay. Don't like it? Don't listen. Pom-Poms and Tight Thongs by Megapom. Rainbow Blitz was blushing. This wasn't a small blush either. No subtle flush of the cheeks, no slight red tinge to his face. No, he was out and out red, his rosy cheeks a bright cherry color. His eyes were all but stapled to the ground, and his hands were clasped behind his back, as though he didn't want any pony to see them. That was, admittedly, true. He felt a sudden pressure on his left shoulder and glanced up to his right. Applejack grinned down at him, the big muscular stallion's cheeks dimpling as he gave Blitz's upper arm another squeeze. "Enjoying yourself?" Blitz just scowled. "Yeah, sure." AJ's grin just got wider. "Come on," he said. His hand slid down Blitz's arm to his wrist and then slipped beneath it to weigh on Blitz's slender waist. "You know you like it." "As if," Blitz said. "Because I usually go around wearing a slutty fucking bimbo outfit." He avoided the glance of a curious-looking mare and went back to staring, well, glaring, at the road. Ponyville's downtown was only a few hellishly long minutes away, and each second brought a new blast of heat to Rainbow Blitz's cheeks. He'd lost a bet to Applejack last week. Something dumb, probably. He'd been completely sloshed with cider and had had the smart fucking idea to make a bet where the consequence for losing was wearing a skimpy cheerleader's outfit into town. Blitz had completely forgotten about it in the depths of his hangover the next day, but when Applejack came to collect the following week, all of Blitz's protestations hadn't been enough to keep his bigger friend from slapping a short little skirt and top, a pair of leggings, and a pair of pretty pink shoes onto him and parading him into town. "Bet's a bet," Applejack said. He smirked. "And sides, a pretty little stallion like you pulls it off pretty well." Blitz almost growled. Applejack chuckled, lifted his arm from the smaller stallion's waist and patted Blitz on the shoulder. At just under 6.5 feet and nearly 300 pounds of muscle, Applejack was a monster of a stallion, a pillar of strong, virile masculinity. In contrast, Blitz was built for speed. At 5'5" and barely topping out at 130 pounds, his slender figure could fly faster than most ponies could even see. How he wished he could fly away now. He gritted his teeth and clamped his hands behind his back to make sure no pony could see them. But Rainbow Blitz never went back on a bet. Applejack prodded the back of his hand. "Come on now," he said. "No point in wearing them pretty little things if you ain't gonna show 'em off." Flustered, Blitz pulled his hands out behind his back and let them hang down at his sides. Each one clutched a pom-pom, bright blue with streaks of color weaving through the tassels. He hated them. "Lil higher," Applejack said. If looks could kill. But Blitz did as he was told, clenching his jaw so tight that he felt like it might crack in two. He hefted the two pom-poms to his chest and held them there. Applejack gave an approving nod. "How much more of this?" Rainbow Blitz muttered. "Till we get to the apple stand," Applejack answered. "I want to show off my pretty little stallion here." Blitz was going to kill him. "Hey!" Blitz almost stopped in his tracks. That voice? Oh no, that was the absolute last pony he wanted to see right now. "Hey Applejack, how's it going?" Scooter, a stallion of average height and a leaner build, jogged towards them. "Who's your pretty friend?" Blitz gritted his teeth and glared at the younger stallion, his red eyes blazing. Scooter took a step back in shock, but then grinned as if struggling to contain his laughter. "No way," he said, chuckling. "Blitz?" "Yes," Blitz bit out. "Why are you wearing that?" Blitz opened his mouth to deliver a pithy retort, and then remembered the other half of the bet. He glanced up at Applejack and saw the bigger stallion grinning down at him. Fucker. "'Cause..." Blitz's voice trailed off. He sighed. "Because I've decided to become Applejack's personal cheerleader." Gods, but his voice sounded dead. And why couldn't he just sink into the ground right now? That'd be fucking great. Because a stallion so big and manly deserves a cute little cheerleader like me. Applejack's grin widened, and he gave Blitz's shoulder a little squeeze. His big arms, biceps and forearm, bulging with muscle, weighed heavily on the back of Blitz's neck, and his pecs swelled impressively as he took a breath. Well, the little guy really wanted it, so who was I to say no? He flexed an arm, his 25-inch biceps bulging nearly as wide as Blitz's waist. Can't say I don't like it. Watching Applejack's arms swell up like that, Blitz was suddenly very aware of the tight clothes around his own slender figure, the poofy short sleeves of his shoulders, the plaited skirt, all done up in bright pink colors, so girly that even normal cheerleader would balk at it. It all added up to a scene that he would happily died over. Scooter snickered. "Wish I had a cheerleader that pretty cheering me on. I've got a race tonight. It'd be good for morale." "Maybe I'll lay him out," Applejack said casually. "Don't push it," Blitz snarled. Applejack just looked faintly amused. "You know," he said, "a cheerleader this pretty needs a name. Got any ideas, Scoot?" Scooter's snickering was anything but subtle. "Well, he sure looks like one of those prettied up porn stars like that." Rainbow Blitz's jaw dropped. "You little shit," he started, but Applejack was already nodding. Works for me. How about Rainbow Bliss?" "Nice," Scooter said. He smirked down at Bliss. When he'd hit his first real growth spurt at 16, the younger stallion had finished at a comfortable 5'10". Now he was nowhere near Applejack's towering height, but was still more than tall enough for Blitz to be unable to look him in the eye. Rainbow had never really forgiven him for that. "I think it works pretty well," Applejack drawled. His hand curled around Bliss's shoulder again. "Especially for such a slender, curvy little mare like him." "Curvy? I'm lean, fuckwad," Blitz spat. Applejack's eyebrows rose up. "Delicate, then," he said lazily. "Pretty little cheerleaders ain't supposed to swear in front of stallions. Tell Scooter you sir." Blitz's jaw worked helplessly. He turned to glare at Scooter, who was all but doubled over laughing. "Sorry," he finally said, mumbling the word. He glared down at the ground, his cheeks feeling like a raging inferno. "Sure, yeah," Scooter said, and he regained his composure and then smirked. "Well, see you guys around later. Have fun, Rainbow Bliss." As Applejack slung his arm around Bliss's shoulders again, pulling him back towards the marketplace, Blitz realized something horrifying. He had a boner. Not a half chub, not a soft, hard dick that couldn't even push against your pants. No, his stallionhood was fucking throbbing. He clenched the muscles at the base of his shaft and tried to stifle a groan as his 4-incher rubbed against the inside of the lacy panties that AJ had told him to wear. This was not happening. He couldn't be enjoying this, could he? But then again, some voice whispered in the back of his mind. Didn't he like feeling Applejack's strong hands on his shoulder, around his waist? Didn't he like the feeling of his body pressed up against the larger stallion's, constantly being reminded of a real stallion looked like? He told the voice to fuck off. His boner throbbed again, and he nearly groaned. Something slapped against the side of his hip. Blitz bristled and whirled to face Applejack. "What the hell?" "Girly stallion like you has to work harder to look pretty," Applejack said, smirking. "Put a little sway in your step. Give all those fine stallions around you something to look at." "But—" A quick squeeze of Applejack's big, calloused hand on the side of Blitz's thigh where the bigger stallion's cutie mark was emblazoned on a bright red thread, shut him up. "No buts," Applejack said. "You want to look pretty, don't you, Rainbow Bliss?" Another slap of Applejack's hand forced Blitz's hip to the side, where it bumped into Applejack's muscular thigh. Flushing madly, Blitz let it fall back, continuing to the other side, where it raised up nearly to the same distance. With each step he took, he rocked his hips to the side, raising his tight little butt, just barely concealing beneath the frilly pink skirt. A few inches as his foot naturally came down, tilted a few degrees to the side. In seconds he was walking with a swaying, sauntering step, his whole body flowing from side to side as he fell into a rhythm. Applejack nodded, then grinned. Rainbow Blitz, still blushing, glanced downward briefly. The bigger stallion had a visible bulge at the crotch of his jeans, a fat protruding length that had to run at least 7 inches down the length of his thigh, its girth straining against the fabric. It didn't even look hard. Rainbow Blitz swallowed. Within minutes, they arrived at the Apple family stall. By the time they got there, Blitz had already started to enjoy his swaying, sashaying walk. He was still embarrassed as hell, of course, but some secret part of him loved the way people looked at him, especially the looks of interest he got when their owners didn't realize that they were looking at a stallion. Beside a mountain of muscle and masculinity like Applejack, and wearing a frilly, girly skirt and a pair of stockings that covered legs as smooth as a 14-year-old filly's, he couldn't really blame them for the mistake. Not that he'd ever say it out loud, of course. The Apple family stand was waiting for them, already stocked from when Applejack's little brother had visited earlier. Blitz took his place meekly beside a crate of gleaming red delicious, his pom-poms held to his chest as his skirt swayed gently beneath his hips. "Well, go on," AJ said, grinning. "What kind of cheerleader is that won't cheer?" "You mean, might be a slow day," Applejack said casually, inspecting his fingernails. "Could use a cute mare to bring the crowds." Gritting his teeth, Blitz drew his pom-poms together and began to move them about. He pumped them above his head and drew his elbows together before spreading his arms into a T shape. Every silly move he'd ever seen cheerleaders doing at his sporting events before. Gods, but it was weird being on the other end of this. He did his best to work into his routine. His cheeks might be burning hotter than the furnace, but he'd be damned if he let himself half-ass this crap. If Rainbow Blitz was going to be a pretty little cheerleader, he was going to be the best fucking girly cheerleader it could be. Several ponies gave him odd looks. He couldn't deny, however, that his little act seemed to be working. A few wandered over to get a better look, which got them close enough for Applejack's low, booming voice to invite them to buy something. Once or twice a customer was walking away, and he was sure no pony was looking. Blitz even swished his hips back and forth a few times, enjoying the feeling of the skirt brushing across his thighs. Maybe this wasn't so bad. About half an hour after they started, Blitz heard Applejack making his way out of the stall. A second later he felt something squeeze his butt. With a yelp, Blitz swirled on his feet. "Heck are you on?" Applejack loomed over him, a teasing grin on his face. The top of Rainbow Blitz's head didn't even come up to the larger stallion's shoulders. Blitz struggled to keep himself from squirming. One hand clamped on his other arm's bicep. From there, Applejack's pecs, a pair of thick, meaty slabs, each as large as Blitz's entire head, and his thick, heavy crotch bulge absolutely filled the smaller stallion's vision. Applejack's big arms flexed idly, bulging up 4 times the size of Blitz's as easily as breathing, and Rainbow hastily let his hand fall from his skinny, unmuscled bicep. "Well," Applejack drawled, "you've been working so hard, I figured you might deserve a little break. Maybe even a reward." "What's up with pinching my butt, jackass?" Blitz said. "Cute little rump like that. Applejack shrugged, smirking. Couldn't resist. Blitz blushed furiously, but meekly followed Applejack into the stall. Applejack sat on a stool behind the counter and drew a curtain across the front. Still, though, Blitz muttered. He refused to meet AJ's eye. Totally not cool. You queer or something? I'm not the one who's been eyeing other stallions with crotches for the past hour, Applejack said casually. Blitz stiffened. That's totally not a thing, he finished lamely. Sure, Applejack said. He didn't sound convinced. But surely a pretty little mare like you must be curious, huh? Care to see it? Blitz struggled to say no, but his throbbing erection persuaded him otherwise, especially given that Applejack's bulge had looked so big earlier. At the very least, he was curious. Sure, he said. I guess. Applejack grinned. Two big hands went down to his belt buckle and casually undid it. Gotta admit, he said, I've been eyeing you myself for quite a while. Cute little mare like you makes an awful good eye candy. Rainbow Blitz swallowed as Applejack popped open the button of his pants and casually unzipped his fly. When the big stallion pulled off his jeans entirely, Blitz's eyes almost bulged out of their sockets at the sheer size of the bulge in AJ's briefs. It hung between his legs, brushing against both of his thighs and reaching easily past the halfway point. It still didn't even look hard. Applejack just grinned and stuck a thumb beneath the waistband of his underwear. Blitz's eyes opened even wider as a gentle tug revealed the base of a shaft that had to be nearly as wide around as his forearm. A few more tugs later, and the entirety of Applejack's stallionhood was out in the open. Applejack sighed. His cock was half-mast, and his heavy, musky balls dangled just below it. Now that's better. Blitz took a step forward, feeling almost dizzy. That cock, it was incredibly, impossibly big. He felt his mouth watering and swallowed again. Come on, then, Applejack said gently. Kind enough to show myself off, or rude for a man not to do the same. Blitz jerked, then scowled. His fingers drifted downwards to his crotch. Not like that, Applejack said. He crooked a finger. Come over here. Once Blitz was in front of him, Applejack took one of his slender hands into his own and held it over his crotch. Blitz's cheek colored as he realized what AJ was doing. Feel that? Applejack said, grinning. That's a little mare's dick. Not a real stallion's. He hefted his meaty python in his other hand and gave it a little squeeze. It filled his palm, and the whole of his hand barely covered a third of its length. Let's see what you got. Blitz stifled a moan as Applejack slid a big hand under his skirt. The big stallion's hand was warm and heavy against his thighs, and reached nearly all the way around one of his butt cheeks and the front of his leg. He bit his lip as Applejack rubbed a thumb over the bulge in his prissy little thong, then glared helplessly as Applejack's widened in surprise. Even smaller than I thought, Applejack said. He smirked and hefted Blitz's skirt up before the smaller stallion had a chance to protest. Blitz just stood there, frozen, as Applejack eyed the tiny bulge at his crotch. Celestia Bob, Applejack said, chuckling. That little dick's just adorable. Cute little thing. No wonder you make such a great mare. You're barely a stallion at all. Not like me, he went on, giving his fat tool a friendly pat. You won't find a bigger stallion anywhere on Ponyville. A cute mare like you should be grateful that a real stallion is giving you any attention. His fingers squeezed Blitz's butt. Rainbow stifled a groan of lust. His tiny boner was throbbing, even as Applejack's grew even further towards a full erection. I'll bet this is the first time you've ever seen a real dick in your life, Applejack said. He gestured towards his crotch and smirked. can't have taste. Blitz shifted his weight uncomfortably. His voice was quiet, almost high-pitched. He didn't want to. He was a stallion, damn it, not some cock-hungry mare. But at the same time, he really fucking wanted to. He gulped. "Can I?" Applejack chuckled. Course. Still struggling to hold on to his glare, Blitz got down on his knees and placed one hand on either of Applejack's big muscle thighs. Hesitantly, he leaned over, muzzle slightly parted. At Applejack's nod, he bent forward and took the head in his mouth. Applejack sighed softly as Blitz rolled his tongue across his flare. He grunted. "A little more." Almost eagerly, Blitz let his muscles stretch a little wider as he took a little more of Applejack's member into it. The big stallion's tool filled his mouth, and he could feel it twitching as his tongue worked its way in small circles around its underside. Applejack shivered, and Blitz suddenly felt a warm, salty taste suffusing his tongue. Applejack grunted again. His big hand moved to rest on Blitz's neck, not pushing him forward, but laying there, reminding him with its weight of the caliber of stallion he was pleasuring. Blitz drew his mouth up nearly to the top, his lips smacking together over the pre-oozing head, and dove right back down again. His head bobbed up and down Applejack's length. The big stallion's cock, a full 18 inches in length, was far too big for Blitz to take in entirely, he noted with a surprising amount of disappointment. Still, he resolved to do his best. He swallowed the penis, letting the head slide down his throat as his lips worked the sides, his tongue swishing gently along the underside. "Damn!" Applejack grunted. "You're good at this." If Blitz hadn't been preoccupied with the 7 inches of stallion meat filling his mouth and throat, he might have smirked. Instead, he pulled his head a few inches up, exposing a good quarter of Applejack's shaft to the air. It glistened from his saliva, and Applejack groaned audibly as one of Blitz's hands wrapped around it and slowly worked its way down. As Blitz's mouth and throat pleasured the top of his member, his left hand worked the lower half of the shaft. Blitz's sucking lips and hand met in the middle, right at the medial ring, and Applejack moaned. "Fuck!" he grunted. "Blitz!" Before long, more and more precum was oozing from Applejack's tip and sliding directly down Blitz's throat. Blitz swallowed the big stallion's cock again and again, his nostrils flaring as he took in air. Soon he could feel Applejack's cock shuddering between his lips, the big stallion's legs trembling with the force of holding back an immense pressure. "Fuck!" Applejack grunted again. "Gonna come?" The taste of ejaculate filled Blitz's mouth as Applejack's hip jerked, thrusting a good 2 additional inches of meat down Blitz's throat. Rope after rope of cum followed down Blitz's throat. Applejack's entire load depositing itself directly into Blitz's belly as his orgasm peaked. Applejack grunted and groaned, his cock flaring and stretching Blitz's jaw incredibly wide as Blitz hungrily swallowed spurt after spurt of thick, warm cum. When it was over, Applejack groaned and popped his neck. "Now that," he said, breathing heavily, "was a damn good blowjob. Sure you never done this before?" Blitz's lip popped off of Applejack's moistened tip with a loud smack. "No," he said. His glare was only half-hearted at this point, and he looked away, biting his lip. Though it wasn't half bad, I guess. Applejack's grin split his face in two. "Good to hear," he rumbled, "because, that's not the only first you'll be having today." "What do you—" Blitz began, but Applejack had already slung an arm around his waist and deposited him on his hands and knees on the ground in front of him. Blitz moaned as Applejack's big hand massaged his aching, tiny erection, the other hand pulling down the stockings covering his rump. "Now that's a cute little rare," Applejack said, grinning. He lifted up the skirt and pulled the stockings down just enough to expose Blitz's crotch. AJ, Blitz groaned, his little dick twitching. What are you doing? Just hold still, Applejack said. Blitz frowned, then gasped as he felt something big prodding up against his rear, something thick, something heavy and warm. Now this might hurt a little at first, Applejack said, but we should be plenty lubed up for this to work. At first there was an incredible tightness, a resistance, and then Blitz's eyes bulged as he felt his hole suddenly spreading incredibly wide as Applejack's member forced its way in. Oh, gods! He grunted, struggling to keep himself together. Oh, fuck, that's big! Applejack rubbed Blitz's flanks, grunting as he pushed his member a bit further into Blitz's back door. We ain't done yet, he grunted. Blitz all but melted around it as Applejack's cock filled him more than he'd ever known any pony could be filled. He'd experimented once or twice with toys before, not because he was some kind of queer. Duh. He'd just heard some bullshit about prostate orgasms and wanted to try one, but this was far beyond anything he could have ever experienced. Applejack's hands wrapped around his waist as more and more of his cock entered Blitz's rear. Fuck! Applejack groaned. You're so damn tight. Maybe you're just so fucking big. Applejack bent over Blitz's lithe form, a good half of his massive cock buried in the smaller stallion's ass. The bottom of Blitz's skirt lay over the exposed top of Applejack's tool, its soft pink frills in sharp contrast to the slab of stallion meat it was attempting to cover. See, he said, I got an idea. What? Applejack's breath was hot in Blitz's ear. I come first, I get the outfit tomorrow. If you finish first, then you gotta be my little cheerleader till I tell you to stop. Blitz was proud that he kept his voice from shaking. You're on. Applejack just laughed. Then I got this one in the bag, he said, almost lovingly caressing Blitz's slender waist and giving his hips a little jerk forward. Blitz's eyes bulged as he felt the impossible girth of Applejack's medial ring prodding against his ass. After all, a sissy little mare like you can't help but come, exactly. He jerked a good 3 inches more of his tool inside of Blitz's ass. Rainbow let out a howl of pain and pleasure as he felt Applejack's member stretching his insides. Well, Applejack withdrew a good foot of his meat from Blitz's rump and then rammed it back in, a good 14 inches sparing Blitz on the tip. Blitz wailed as pleasure threatened to overwhelm. Fuck! Oh, fuck! His stallion! Blitz was crying out now, moaning loudly in pleasure as Applejack rammed his ass again and again. With just a thin little cloth covering the front of the stall, there was no way that every pony outside didn't know exactly what was going on. But Blitz didn't care. He loved feeling full like this, loved being filled again and again as a big stallion like Applejack made him his mare. The feeling of being stretched didn't subside. If anything, it intensified, his insides shivering and spasming around Applejack's massive tool. Tingling jolts of pleasure sang up and down his spine as a feeling of total, utter submissiveness washed over him. Says! Applejack rammed his massive cock into Blitz's rear all the way up to the hilt, his heavy, musky ball slapping against the backs of Blitz's thighs. With a cry, Blitz threw back his head and came. It wasn't very impressive. A few small spurts of cum, each one barely more than a few drops, dribbled out from his tip and onto the ground. Fuck. He'd lost the bet, and somehow he didn't seem to mind. Huh. He heard Applejack grunt in his ear. Now let me show you how real stallion comes. Applejack's massive cock thrust into Blitz's ass, his inside clenching around it, as more and more warm, thick pre oozed into him. Applejack's hips flexed, his muscular thighs pressing against Blitz's butt with every thrust, his balls bouncing off the smaller stallion's rear. Applejack grunted and snorted, his hands roving hungrily across Blitz's slender body. With a final grunt, Applejack hilted himself inside of Blitz. His cock flared, bulging with unspilled seed, and he came. His member lurched and suddenly for a moment before erupting with a tidal wave of splooge. Thick white ropes of cum splattered against Blitz's insides, gooey spurts of cum filling him up as Applejack's hips jerked against him again and again. Blitz moaned as he felt Applejack's seed sloshing around of his gut. He held a hand to his belly and groaned, squeezing his eyes shut as the last waves of warm pleasure washed over him. "Fuck," he grunted. There wasn't really much else to say. With a groan, Applejack collapsed onto the floor of the stall, his big arm pulling Blitz down with him. Blitz grunted as the back of his head collided with Applejack's pectoral shelf, but then he let himself relax slightly, enjoying the feeling of the big stallion's muscles beneath him. "Looks like I get to keep my cheerleader," Applejack teased. Blitz flushed. This time, though, he didn't glare. If anything, a small, hesitant smile danced upon his lips. After a moment, he said, I have to keep the uniform, right?" Applejack chuckled. He gave Blitz's hip a squeeze and drew an arm around the little stallion's chest. "Don't you fret, Rainbow Bliss," he said, gently stroking Blitz's stomach. "I got a feeling that you'll be wearing that cute little thing all the time from now on."